Alright, how's it going? I'm doing questions for Seamus, part 4. There's the questions on my computer that I'm reading. I'm doing it while I'm cooking my pasta, while it's raining outside, up at Volunteer Park. So, cool man, I have something to do while I wait for the water to boil. Let's see here, can you see me alright? Okay. Feel free to skip questions asked and dumb questions. There are a lot here. Okay. What do you think a person who is deaf from birth thinks who has never heard a sound? When he decides to go to the store, does he sound out the thought in his head? Does he word the sound out? He can't though, right? So does he imagine himself walking there to buy the stuff? Or is it in word in his mind he sees to think the process through? That's hard to explain actually. I think somebody who has never heard doesn't hear sounds. I think it's totally different. I think he understands the concepts of sounds though from past life memory and in his DNA and everything. But you know, like Helen Keller, that was amazing. She never heard or saw in her whole life, but she totally talked and she understood the world and all that kind of stuff. Because she had the psychic powers connected and she could actually see visions. I think visions of what the world is like in her head. Now seeing what visions she thought would have been amazing. But I bet you it was pretty accurate. How does a person who is bilingual think, in English or Spanish or both? They think in both. I'm bilingual. And I had a dream in Spanish, speaking in Spanish. And you know, because I was in Chile 5 years and I, you know, hung out with my wife like all the time. And she never learned a word of English. And it was all Spanish. And yeah, I was thinking in Spanish. I think the human's high population is killing the planet. If it will eventually be a huge problem, if it already isn't, do you think the human population can be controlled? Do you think this is the main reason for the Earth killing mass amounts of people eventually? It's obvious the population is getting huge. Why can't we see this immediately and do something about it now? Make the birth rate lower or outlaw kids. Well, I think that what's happening in the world these days with technology making it so that we can have all these people is a natural process. But if we follow the golden rule of doing stuff because it's good for society and not because it's good for you, you know, not follow the dollar, just the dollar, and I think we're going to be okay. The Earth can support 6 billion just in the state of Texas if we do it right. And with the technology, you know, with free energy and everything, we can live without destroying the environment and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we're going to be okay. Well, as far as the Earth killing mass amounts of people, like earthquakes and stuff, well, some people say that they've got information saying that all those earthquakes are actually caused by the government, by HARP. They're doing it deliberately to practice their killing powers. I don't know about that, but there's also an idea that earthquakes and stuff happen because of our minds, because we're all stressed out and we cause the earthquakes. And also because the Earth itself is becoming higher vibration and it's all rumbling and stuff. And I don't know, I think we'll be okay. If those people in the tsunami knew that when the ocean recedes, that means there's a tsunami coming, they would have all run for higher ground and not as many people would have died, you know. Back when the tsunami came, they were running towards the ocean to catch the crayfish and stuff. Okay, well, we're not going to have to outlaw kids, dude. Population in Italy and Spain, you know, in America, and actually I guess all of Western Europe is actually decreasing. The only reason it's increasing is from immigration. When countries get to a high enough level, people just stop having kids because they start being focused on their careers and stuff, you know. Like Oprah never had a kid and she's got enough money to have a whole gang of kids. But she just was career oriented and people are getting career oriented, so, you know, I'll probably never have any kids. And when people do have kids, a lot of families just have one or two, you know. So, yeah, I think we're going to have it under control. We're going to become, you know, self-responsible. But we have to, in order to become self-responsible, we have to be allowed to be self-responsible, you know? We have to legalize drugs. I guess that's another question. We have to legalize prescription medication for the people just to buy themselves. We can't be led by the fucking wrist like we're fucking, by the forearm like we're little fucking babies. No, you're not responsible enough to make any decisions for yourself, you know, and then you grow up and you're like, okay, I guess I'll just fucking do what I can get away with because I don't understand the concept of self-responsibility. Fucking idiots outlawing shit. So evil. Yeah, now they're gonna outlaw inhalers, salbutamol inhalers. So now the only way you can get an inhaler is with a prescription. I asked a pharmacist yesterday, how the hell are the homeless people gonna get an inhaler now? You know, because even they have to pay like $150 to a doctor every 4 months. It's fucking bullshit. It's evil. Because asthma is like hell, living hell. Okay, anyways, okay. Is Ellen and hoax the same with 2012? That's interesting. It's the 25th, dude. The Ellen in alignment is tomorrow on the 26th. So if nothing happens, it'll be like, ooh, first time they're in alignment it came and nothing happened. Maybe it is a hoax. Apparently the NASA.gov site has scientists saying it's all bullshit from the internet. Well, I did go to the NASA site and I looked around and I couldn't find that little diagram that they made with the Ellen in on the NASA site. And all the videos that I saw about Ellen, they never actually had the link to the NASA site. They were not like, yeah, just copy and paste the link below and go to the NASA site and you'll see. They never did that. So yeah, maybe it was a hoax. You know, and the more hoaxes that you get, the more times people have those hoaxes, the less people are gonna give a fuck about. Oh, it's the end of the world. We've had end of the world prophecies since the beginning, since Jesus. Well, actually, probably since before that, since the beginning of time, dude. Revelation from the Bible was written by some dude named John, and he thought that Nero was persecuting all the Christians, and he thought that the Christians were going to be taken up to heaven like in 20 years or something, you know. So he's like, yes, the end is nigh, the end is nigh. And then at the turn of the millennium, 1,000 years ago, everybody thought the end was nigh. And then in 1820, there was this thing called the Big Disappointment. They all thought the end was nigh. And then I bet you a lot of people thought that the end was nigh for Y2K, and now it's Ellen, and then it's gonna be, well, I'm sure some people are like, yeah, it's 2012, and then after that it's gonna be, oh yeah, the outbreak of some virus, and dude, it'll be like that for the next like 10 years. People are gonna be fucking reading that shit over and over again. Okay, quiz question. This was a final Jeopardy question. What U.S. state has the longest coastline in the entire North American continent? I would guess Alaska. It's a huge state with all those islands. Followed by Florida, followed by California, and then I guess maybe Hawaii with all their little islands. What is more important, knowledge or imagination? Imagination is more important because imagination leads to knowledge. Imagination leads to the desire to learn more things. If you have knowledge, if you have only knowledge, you're only gonna have, maybe you had that knowledge because somebody told you, but then you're not gonna continue the knowledge. You know, like a computer, the internet has more knowledge than any human, but the internet can't do anything with it because it's not an actual, you know, alive being with the abilities to do stuff. Maybe the internet is alive, which it is. But yeah, imagination, man. What place in Canada would you most like to visit? Why? Top 3. Same question for USA. I think the first place in Canada I'd want to go is Montreal because they speak French, and that just tripped me out to know that I'm in America. You know, right next to the United States where everybody's speaking French, and I'm curious to see like how many people, just to hear people speaking French in the streets, and how many people would be speaking French and how many would be speaking English. What signs would be in France, what signs would be in English. Yeah, and I guess Quebec is a little bit different, kind of autonomous zone or whatever, isn't it, or something like that? A different state. They even want their independence. You know, and sometimes if you ask a Canadian if they're Canadian, but they're from Quebec, they'll just tell you they're from Quebec. So maybe they've got different. Maybe they would let me in Canada, whereas the Canadians on the western coast won't, but they would over there. Maybe I should try again. You know, but it's kind of sketchy for me because they said they'd arrest me if I tried to go in again. Second place would be Vancouver because Vancouver. I've traveled to a lot of countries. I spent a lot of time out of this country. You know, like I don't know, a lot of time and. Like, yeah, it seems like a quarter of the people I meet are from freaking Vancouver. Like, out of all these places with the most travelers, London would be the most, followed by Vancouver. Like, it seems like everybody from Vancouver has traveled. So, you know, I'd probably be walking down Vancouver and, like, see all these people I've seen traveling. Yeah, and plus it seems like a cool place with the big mountains, the ski mountains right next to it. But I ain't going there anytime soon. I'm banned from Canada. Because I live in my van. Okay. Oh, top 3. Okay, and then I guess Toronto, just because it's a really big city. Or Halifax. What if you had anywhere to live from your van experience? Where would you choose so far? Now that you've been to a lot of places, why? That'd be cool to live in Hawaii, but I don't know. It's probably too expensive to have my car driven over there. Yeah, I want to live in Hawaii out of my bike. That'd be cool. Well, maybe Boulder. Yeah, Boulder's my favorite place, but Boulder gets cold in the wintertime, and it'd be rough living in your car in the winter. Unless I had like some super heater that could keep my car warm all night, that'd be cool. Okay. But yeah, some of the coolest places in America, like Seattle is super cool. I like Seattle. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. If you had anywhere to live, okay. Have you heard of Slab City? Look it up. I have not heard of Slab City, and I forgot to Google it, so I don't know. I'll have to get back with you on that. I wonder why nobody knows about Boombox yet. I ask people all the time and nobody knows shit about it. Yeah, it was on 60 Minutes and then it's not all over the news. Supposedly it works, but maybe it doesn't work as much as they say it does. But the guy who invented it, he's like sure that by 10 years, 5 or 10 years, everybody in America is going to have it. Boombox is this free energy device, and you can Google it or YouTube it, and the 60 Minutes did a thing about it. And I guess it's invented by a NASA scientist, and they used it for the NASA shuttles, and so now it's installed. It powers Google. It totally powers Google and Yahoo and stuff in San Jose, and it's fueled off of garbage, and it just collects. It turns stuff into like hydrogen, and then they power the buildings with it. But they have to keep the vents clean and stuff, so it doesn't require some maintenance. But pretty cool, man. I guess we got free energy, and then the batteries are getting stronger all the time. So pretty soon we'll have the battery. Our cars. When I was a kid, I thought the future would be when we had Skype. Now we have Skype, and then when we have electric powered cars. So pretty soon we're gonna have that, and I'm gonna be fucked. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Okay. If the van had the Boombox for fuel, how would the van experience change? Computer, lights, heat, travel. That would be cool, huh? Yeah. If like you pretty much could drive around for free because there's no gas charges, because you can just plug your car up to the electric power. I mean, I bet you we could make it a lot cheaper, and then you could drive all over the place. Yeah, living in the van. Well, it would make living in a house cheaper too. So I don't know if it would make it more popular to live in a van, but yeah, it would make the van experience change, because you could find it'd be easier to find places to park your car. You could drive to the edges of town and stuff to park, and then drive way back in. You wouldn't want to like just drive 2 blocks to save gas. And well, it would change the whole world, and that's probably a whole new video. Yeah, but you could live in your van in the wintertime, in a cold, like up in Canada, people could start living in their vans because you could just have the heater on all night, you know. Okay. What do you think about a teacher's salary? Are they underpaid? I don't know how much they get. Maybe it's like 30 grand a year. I don't think they're underpaid. I mean, you have to remember that they get 3 months off. They get a whole summer off. And their jobs are pretty fun. And I don't know how much homework they do, but once you become a good teacher and you know what you're doing, I wouldn't imagine the homework would be that much. You have to grade papers and stuff, but I don't really know that much. They never let me do my student teaching. They kicked me out of the department after I took all the classes and took all the tests and did all the 100 practicum hours, so I don't know shit about that. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, and also, you know, like doctors, I think, like emergency room doctors, they deserve a lot of money because that's not really a fun job. You know, they have to deal with blood, guts, and gore, and they've got a lot of responsibility, saving lives and stuff, and they have to be on task all the time. And surgeons, same thing. You know, stressful jobs, I think, deserve a lot of money, more money. I don't know if they deserve, like, to get, like, a fuck of a lot more money, but, like, they do, but I do think that teaching should be a really competitive job, not a job that, because when I was in teaching classes in school, I guess the rumor was that like people get into teaching when they're too stupid to do anything else, and yeah, I think teaching should be a really competitive job that the smart people go after. So for that, I think yeah, the teacher's salary actually should go up, even though it's a fun job. I mean, you know, actors and actresses and sports stars' salaries are really high and they have fun jobs, but that's because it's really competitive. Yeah, I think it should be the same thing for teachers. It should be really, really high salary so that the best of the best are there, because yeah, education is the most important thing. If we have a really good education, then if we get people who teachers in there who love to explain stuff, have a really high level of knowledge about everything and can connect everything, and can answer pretty much any question that's asked to them, and can actually instill motivation to the kids and inspire kids to learn themselves, so that when they graduate they want to keep learning and all that, then and then, you know, people are going to actually be able to have opinions about stuff. People won't be afraid to like make YouTube videos expressing their opinions, or have websites, personal websites, listing very specifically all of their opinions about, you know, politics and stuff, and we'd fix the political system. There wouldn't be any disconnect between the politicians and the humans or the citizens and all that stuff. We could have a utopia, but it all starts with education. So yeah, sure, I think teachers are underpaid. Okay, why don't we elope? Why don't people elope anymore? Well, because people don't need parents' opinions anymore. Parents don't have as much control. They're cooler. They give kids more freedom. So, besides, people don't have to get married to like have sex and have babies and stuff anymore. There's a lot more freedom. If your mom, your brothers, and you were asked to lead a shipwrecked boat of 100 people, who would you pick to lead? I guess I'd pick my mom, because she's the oldest. Okay. Who do you think is the smartest human right now? Top 3. Who is the smartest ever recorded? That's a really interesting question. Like, because what is intelligence? I think intelligence is smartness, is well, conviction, the ability to understand what is important to know, and even if everybody around you is against that, and the ability to tie all these other things together, and most importantly, the ability to explain things. I think that, and it's not really seen that way now, but I think we should basically be something that we should be common knowledge, is that if somebody can't explain something, they don't understand it, basically, you know, because there's so many people who are supposed to be super brilliant and some things like M theory. They're like, yeah, this guy, I was seeing the YouTube videos, yeah, this guy, he invented M theory. Oh, he's better than all of the other M theorists, and I'm sure these guys get paid a whole lot of money. He's the best. And then they get him on, and he's all smug, and he's like, yes, M theory. And they interview him for like 30 seconds where he's like, M theory is... And he just says something that anybody could say, you know, and they never had him explain what it was. They need it, if somebody, you know, if somebody's gonna... Is there a YouTube video of Stephen Hawking actually up there explaining what a black hole is? That's why Sarah Palin can never be president, because she can't explain why laws should be made and how the economy and government works and stuff. You have to be able to explain stuff, and even Obama, you know, he doesn't get up there and explain. You need somebody up there who can, basically, I think politics and I think see, this is why one reason why I like Ron Paul, because he's up there explaining how stuff works and why stuff needs to change, and he talks and he talks. So I think in the future, pretty soon, politics, people who run for office are going to it's going to be like you know, like in the past, the people who became president were, you know, leaders. They were generals, or they were big businessmen. But in the future, I think the people who get into politics are going to be professors, teachers. I think in the future, the whole election process isn't going to be so much about mudslinging and you know, getting endorsements and all that kind of stuff, because when you have when you have those presidential debates, when you have, oh, you've only got 30 seconds to answer the question and stuff. No. In the future, it's going to kind of be more like in the past, back in the good old days in the 1800s, when Lincoln and the other dude were running against each other. They do like 3-hour-long speeches each, and because it was like an educational experience. So I think from now on in the future, when people run for office, it's going to be it's also going to be a big educational tour, where the politicians get up there and basically explain to all of us stupid people like me, who don't understand like the powers of the president or laws or anything, get up there and explain everything. Like, okay, the other guy, this guy here voted this, voted that, voted this, believes in that, believes in this, and the economy is working in such a way that, and just sitting there and explaining it. I'm going to vote for this, and I voted for that, and then it's kind of like basically the same thing as being in a university lecture. And so yeah, I think somebody who can do that is really smart. But actually, I think the golden nugget for smarts in America and in the world is the person who can redesign the actual system, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole everything, from start to finish, and kind of like present it to the world, to America, on a nice silver platter, is going to be the smartest person. The person who like designs like everything from bottom to top, about like the educational system, like exactly what classes you need to take, exactly what tests you need to take, the standardized tests, and then of course all the economic stuff, like exactly how much taxes we need to spend on this and this and this and this, because I think that we need an overhaul, kind of like if you drive an old like Model T into the shop and you want to keep having your Model T, but you're going to have to completely put a new engine in there and get new kinds of tires. It's like a total overhaul. I think that's what we need for our educational system and our political system. You know, we're living in a system that was designed back in 1790. You know, we've got the Electoral College still going on. We've got all these laws, like in 13 states outlaws oral sex, and you know, you have to get a doctor's prescription to get an asthma inhaler and marijuana, and just all these backwards ideas. You know, and all the, you know, politicians don't want to answer questions, like that lady on Piers Morgan the other day. And yeah, I think we should basically overhaul it. But Yeah, so I think somebody who can figure that out and explain it to everybody is the smartest. Would be the smartest. But who are the top 3 smartest right now? I don't know. Right now, the smartest people, I'd say Ron Paul, because he's kind of what I was just explaining. He was that dude doing that. Plus, he's a doctor and he's really old. And yeah, okay, so smartest Ron Paul. Second place. Second place. Everybody says Stephen Hawking, but I don't think he's smart, because he got up on TED and he's like, anybody who sees a UFO is either what were the words? Is either a crank or a weirdo. So yeah, he's not so. He's just good at math. Somebody who's like really well-rounded. I bet you Oprah is really smart, because she's interviewed all those smart people. She seems new agey, you know. Who else? Somebody, I guess Bill Gates would be smart, because he invented like Microsoft and stuff. Yeah. Obama seems smart. Okay, smartest ever? I guess Jesus, because he was up there, he was kind of thinking out of the box. He was like, wait, no, we should, you should, if a thief comes and steals your money from you, give him your jacket too, because he's in pain being a thief. I mean, back then in those days, to have that kind of an idea was totally hardcore, but, you know, I think it's cool. It's smart. So, yeah. And also Einstein for coming up with the, or maybe Einstein was the smartest actually, for coming up with the equals MC squared. I still can't figure that out, how he just thought that up. Newton actually thought that up too, though. He wasn't the first, but... Okay, yeah, Newton was too. Okay. Do you watch Angry Grandpa now that you are exposed to it? It is at times disturbing, and I am mildly embarrassed I tune into it as it's very Jerry Springer. I saw a couple videos. No, I don't watch it anymore. I watch like history. I record history videos and stuff. Or, yeah. Okay, why do you like William Ray Johnson? I like William Ray Johnson because he's got... I love those viral videos. Those viral videos are funny. Wish he had more of them though, not just 3. And then he is funny when he makes fun of them. I usually don't. I usually fast forward through the part making fun of him, but I see a little bit of it. And all the cool little like flash animation he does is like really brilliant. He's really smart. Okay, and funny. What do you think of people who are know-it-alls? Yeah, your typical know-it-all, the kind of person who like blabbity 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 blabs, and then they're kind of done with you and they go and they don't want to like listen to you. Yeah, those people are annoying, definitely. Yeah, you don't want conversations to go one way, to be one-way conversations. But yeah, you have to be able to feel out the people you're talking to and see if they want to talk, you know. If they don't want to talk and they just want to sit there and watch you talk, then yeah, it's great to be a know-it-all. But if they want to like get some words in, then you should definitely listen to them and then respond to what they say. A lot of people blabbity blab and then the other person talks, and then they're like, look at them with a glazed look on their face, and then they start blabbity blabbity blab again, like they never even heard what you said. And that shit is really annoying. I mean, it's like fuck off. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Those kind of people aren't so smart. Okay. Okay. Do you think people with mild mental impairment are mistreated? I don't think so. I haven't heard of any stories about that. Not in America. I think we're pretty good to the retards. Or I guess, what do you call them now? Mentally impaired. Do you think humans were designed to live with one mate forever like a swan? Yes, humans were designed to live with one mate forever like a swan or a coyote. But humans were also designed to live with many mates throughout the life. Humans are designed for everything. How would men's role? It just depends on the environment. If you're in an environment where you're kind of stuck and you're not mobile and whatever, Or if you have kids, you know. I think if you have children, then you definitely should stay with your mate for the sake of the children. For sure. Okay. How would men's roles change if a virus killed the most of the women, say 5 women to 1 man, or worse, 10 to 1? If there was like 10 men to a woman, I think children would be started to be treated like gold. There would be very a lot of punishment if you like smack a kid, or if you like manslaughter a kid or something like that. You get like thrown in jail forever. They'd have like seatbelt laws for kids, and kids would have to wear helmets every time they're at a bike, to make sure, because women can only pump out so many kids, and I think women would start to get paid like huge amounts of money to have children, so that they're encouraged to basically be pregnant their whole life, so that you can keep the population up. It'd be kind of hard to keep the population up if there was 10 men to 1 woman. How would men's roles change though? Yeah, men. I'd probably be the same, because I think women would basically just be these rich people who just don't have jobs and just hang out and just stay fit and healthy, and they're kind of like superstars. So men would basically be in charge. But they'd be so rich they'd probably be able to get whatever job they wanted. So they'd be like, they could be like politicians or whatever. But so I'd say maybe in that sense they'd be subordinate. But there'd be so many more men to women that it wouldn't really matter. Men's roles would be just the same. No man would. I bet you men would. A lot of like quasi gay dudes would go full on gay. There'd be more gay dudes in the world because there'd be no women. Okay, why are you growing your hair out? When will you cut it? I'm growing my hair out because I just want to see how long it can get. I want to get it long enough so I can tie it behind in a ponytail. I've never grown my hair out like really long. I guess this is the longest I've ever had it, or maybe this is even longer than the longest I've ever had it. And yeah, maybe I'll turn them into dreads. Like if I ever feel like I want to cut them, I'll turn them into nice big old dreadies, and I'll have the dreads for a little bit, and then I'll cut those off. Or maybe I'll cut like one dread off, or I'll have like lots of different hairstyles as my hair kind of gradually gets shorter. It's cool to experiment with the different kind of hairstyles. Okay, let's say you had to lose one of your 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Which one would you choose? Why? Did you know if you lose your hearing, you're more likely to go crazy? This has to do with things like hearing your mom's loving voice. Okay, I would choose to lose taste. No, smell. Because smell can be a bad sense to have sometimes. If something smells bad, I could like get away with never doing my laundry, and yeah, and I wouldn't have to smell anything bad, and it'd be cool. Yeah, and I definitely need my sight and hearing, and I like having touch, and taste is good. After smell, I guess I would get rid of my taste. That way I could eat, like, I could be a raw foodist and not really be tempted to eat the nachos and stuff. Okay. Okay, do you think you see the color blue as that color, but the person next to you sees the color red but was taught to call it blue? In other words, do you think we are all see this? We all see color differently? I think we all see color, the same colors, blue and reds, slightly differently, kind of like your computer screens have a little slightly different color. But I think we basically see all the colors the same, except for the colorblind people. Should drugs be legal? Why? Is there one drug you might say to keep legal? All drugs should be legal. Cocaine should be legal. Salvia divinorum should be legal. Heroin should be legal. It should all be legal. Drugs are fun, man. And if people have problems with drugs, it's their problem, and you should get them. They should fix themselves, and you can have a whole industry of doctors and like counselors and stuff to try to help those people, and how self-help people could write books and have seminars and all that stuff for all the crackheads and stuff, and it would it'd keep the economy circulating, right? You'd have those jobs, but we wouldn't be spending money doing shit that actually hurts people, throwing people in jail. That's no fun, and that doesn't teach people how to be responsible. And we spend $40 billion a year on the war on drugs, and people still get drugs as much as they want. You know, if you're a crackhead, you can still get all that stuff, and it causes all those drug wars in Mexico. It creates paranoia. People can't trust each other. People have to lie about whether or not they do drugs. You can't act yourself. It's evil. And especially marijuana. I mean, marijuana, the people who think marijuana should be illegal have never even fucking smoked marijuana in their entire lives. You know, or if they did, they smoked it once when they were in college. Yeah, you don't get high the first time you smoked it, so you really have never smoked marijuana. You've never been high. You know what the fuck you're talking about. And how about doctors? You got to get a doctor's permission to smoke marijuana from probably a doctor who's never smoked it himself. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'd like to know. I'd like to have a meeting with a doctor to get a prescription just to see what kind of stupid shit they ask you. Like, oh well, do you know the risks? Let's see, I got to read the list. Do you know that if you smoke marijuana while you're driving a car, you could space out and crash it? Well, yeah, I guess. I've smoked weed, drive my car lots of times. I don't know. Fucking ridiculous, dude. Pisses me off. You know, the fact that marijuana is illegal, and I know it's not some kind of conspiracy. Well, it probably is some kind of conspiracy theory. They say that we went into Vietnam, did the Vietnam War, so that we could import heroin back to America. The guy who, the cop who started law enforcement against prohibition, or LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, said he read a book about some dude who said that, yeah, that the Vietnam War was all about that. And, you know, and somebody said George Bush imported like cocaine from Colombia to fund, you know, black government stuff, and so they actually legalized these drugs so that the government can make money out under the table. And I wouldn't put that past them. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, like when Washington legalized marijuana for medical purposes in '98, only 56% of the people voted to legalize it. So you get a whole lot of normal people out there who think marijuana should be legal. But I think that's mainly the problem with the educational system. It's just people taught to believe stuff just because everybody else believes it, and they're just going to be like, oh yeah, those are the rules, okay, then they should be the rules because they are the rules. They don't realize that marijuana went illegal in the first place back in '36 when Hearst wanted to make it illegal so that he owned all the newspapers and all of his, he also owned the paper mills, and his paper mills wouldn't go out of business because marijuana is a cheaper way to grow paper. And yeah, it's also a environmental thing. It's not just medical. I mean, what about legalizing marijuana to make, we used to make all of the rope from all the, you know, and the masts from all the ships from the colonial days was made out of hemp. I have a story about my school, my family, and the Kyles back there in the 1700s in Virginia grew hemp. Everybody there grew hemp. Most of the people there grew hemp back then. It's better for making paper. It grows faster and everything. So it's environmental reasons too. And people are like, we should be good to the environment. Fucking legalize marijuana straight through, and crack and cocaine. That's just fun. You want to have fun. It's party time. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. So yeah, people are more retards, dude. People are fucking morons. It kind of makes me have like no respect for. I guess you gotta like run for. I want to run for office, not so I can win, just so that I can say that I actually tried. You know, tried to do my fucking part. Okay. Of course, you gotta vote on all the things. Okay, if you had to be an animal for 1 week, which animal would you choose to be? What would you do? I'd be a dolphin because dolphins are supposed to be just as smart as humans. Their brains are actually larger than humans' brains, and I guess their brains look the same. They're the same shape, same proportions to their body, and all that kind of stuff. And it'd be cool to be a dolphin for a week and like see if they speak a language, see what kind of language they speak, and how they communicate with the whales, and swim through the ocean and see what that would be like to just be able to swim wherever you want, and how they like what they do for fun. You know, like how much percentage of their time are they like having sex and like playing with their children, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And how do they hunt, how much of the time are they spending doing that, all kind of stuff. It'd be fun to be a dolphin. Okay, quiz question. If you lit a match inside a volleyball with it mirrored on the inside walls, would light ever escape, assuming the match disappeared before the light could refract and absorb into it? Now, I think the light would disappear instantaneously. I mean, just like if you're inside of a, you know, a mirrored elevator with mirrors all over, and you turn your flashlight off, the light disappears instantaneously. The light has to have in order for the light to continue to go around, it has to have a continuous source from somewhere. And Yeah, so you cut the source off, the light disappears. Okay. What would life be like if there was no television? Do you think it's shaped to make people a certain way? The television itself is shaped to make people a certain way? I don't think so. What would life be like if there's no television? Well, if there's no television, I guess the only situation that could ever occur is if we went back to the Stone Age, and it would be just like it was in the Stone Age. So just look at history, and it'd be like that. If people stopped watching television and only watched YouTube, you know, or the internet, like chose what they watched and chose the kind of like talk show people they'd watch, and people gravitated towards that instead of like what was on, people would be able to think for themselves, and I think we'd be a lot more responsible, and we'd make the right political decisions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think television is going to become a lot more marginalized. I think 10 years, this is my prediction, in 10 years, television actors on sitcoms and television talk show hosts on television, they're not going to be really much more famous or even rich as like stars on the internet, like YouTube stars and stuff. I think that it's all going to be kind of like level playing field. Okay. If you... Okay. Do you think the television had stolen something from humans? I mean, we all might end up through evolution being very much the same from TVs, computers, technology. Back in history, we were also different because of distance, Chinese, Irish, English. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Do you think people have changed, are becoming like a lot more homogenized because we're all sharing each other's cultures and stuff, and some people are freaked out about that. Oh no, we're losing individuality. If everybody speaks English, they're not going to speak their own native languages. I think what we need is freedom. As long as you have freedom, we're going to have individuality. What takes away individuality is when you take people's freedoms away. To be able to, you know, take what drugs they want to take, and, you know, dress how they want to dress, and say the kind of things they want to say with fucking FCC bullshit. And yeah, you keep freedom, and then it actually increases the variety that people can have amongst each other, different kinds of people. I think people who make like movies like Star Wars and stuff, where people are dressed all crazy, you know, like The Fifth Element, Zorg, the secretary for Zorg with all the hair and the weird stuff. I think that's what it's going to be like in the future. People are just going to be really, really artistic. People are naturally artistic, and if you have the money to do what you want to do, you can just do that, and people are going to have like lots of different ways to express themselves when there's not... I bet you there's going to be people like walking down the street in like 50 years, 100 years, people are going to be walking down the street like actually dancing. You can see them dance. They're not going to be like paranoid. Oh no, is he watching me dance? You know? And singing out loud, kind of like having blindisms, you know? And people with all their different styles. And yeah, dude, bringing all those people together. And, you know, Chinese will be interested in their ancient Chinese, and so they'll start dressing in ancient Chinese costumes. You know, ancient Irish with their kilts, and the English with the king outfits and stuff. People will start dressing like that again. They'll look in the past, and they'll bring those ancient hairstyles back, and yeah, it'll be cool. What inspired you to do day by day, night by night? Well, I think a couple of people were like, oh, cool, I like the vlogs. The vlogs are why, and I think a lot of like people subscribe to me and stuff, mainly because of living out of the van stuff. And then I got one comment, and I think it was Betty Tutu, she goes, yeah, you should do more vlogs. And that night I was like, fuck it, I'll just do a vlog every day and every night. Because it's a cool idea, because, well, I don't know anybody else who does a vlog every single day on YouTube and actually just describes what they do. I guess they would think that would be a boring thing to do, but that's not the idea. The idea is to actually, not to try to be like exciting, but basically like science. Try to just explain exactly what you did, so that if somebody tunes into you every single day, kind of as a matter of course, they could actually see the ebbs and flows and the patterns and the of somebody's life. And I do have I guess a life that's different than pretty much everybody, because I live out of my van, and so people are interested, like, how do you You know, like where do you sleep and all, like a lot of little things like that. I mean, if I knew of somebody else who had a vlog like me, I would too. I think I'd watch it every day too, just to see, to compare, like how often do they drink, how often do they have an altercation with somebody, how often do they, you know, talk to somebody, or, you know, all kinds of things you could find out. And also you can judge like astrologically. If somebody's like, oh, this day everybody was grumpy. If everybody had a vlog like me, and somebody had an astrological thing, like on that day everybody was grumpy because of the solar flare or whatever, you could watch everybody's vlog from that day, and you could actually do a scientific experiment that way, a scientific test. And yeah, and also for me, it's good for me because I could watch it when I'm older, and I could actually retrace my steps and retrace how I was and what I looked like and all that kind of stuff. And also the morning, I want to hopefully start to remember. I forget when I wake up, I forget, but start to remember to vlog my my dreams. Talk about my dreams, because I would totally forget a dream, and then if I hear the dream again, all of a sudden I remember the dream again, like it was just then. It's freaking amazing. It opens up that part of your brain, and I think if you open up that part of the brain, maybe you'd open up another part of your brain, which would actually make you in some way more intelligent. It's a good way to exercise your brain. Okay, what do you think of Bush Jr.? I don't think Bush Jr. is dumb as people think he is. I think he's just the kind of guy who likes to please people. It's actually written in his astrological chart. And so when the towers struck and they were going to attack, everybody was like, yes, attack, attack. I read in Time magazine 69% of Americans wanted to attack Afghanistan when we went into Afghanistan. And then we went into Iraq. I don't know if everybody wanted to do that, but I bet you most of the people were like, oh, we're going into Iraq, cool, you know? And then it all turns out bad, and so he's the scapegoat. People have a history of having a scapegoat, and then of course he has that problem where he mixes up the grammar, so then they all say he's like stupid, and then people hate Americans, and then he's the scapegoat, and it's just, I don't think he's any dumber than Obama. I think he's a smart enough guy. You can't be dumb and become president. It's too competitive of a job, even though he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And I guess he failed as being the owner of like the baseball team or something like that. I don't know about that. But apparently he didn't fail at being governor if he was popular enough to run for president. But yeah, for going into Iraq and attacking another country, that's dumb. I mean, I never would have done that as a president. So he's not as smart as me. What do you think a person who is deaf from birth, has never heard a sound, thinks? Oh yeah, and another thing, they think that George Bush isn't as good of a speaker as Obama. I don't know about that either. I mean, Obama says a lot, which you can kind of be compared to as doing the thing that George Bush does, where he like says, we need to put food on our tables on our children's food or something like that. We need to put food on our children. No, he just has a different style. So everybody was like ready for the whole like integrity. He's like, I'm the guy with integrity. But you know, if he does 2 terms, Obama does 2 terms, people are going to be kind of sick and tired of that whole, I have the integrity, speaking slowly kind of speech. And they're going to be ready for somebody who talks like Ron Paul. Obama is the perfect warm-up to Ron Paul. Perfect. Because Ron Paul is totally different. He's like all fast, he explains stuff, he's really intense. Yeah, dude, I bet you Ron Paul's going to be the next president. If he lives long enough, but he's got a son. I bet you his son will be president. One of those guys will be. Okay, what do you think a person who is deaf from birth, has never heard a sound, thinks? I think they hear the same. They think the same stuff that we think. I don't think we really think in terms of words anyway. Even the people who can hear, I think we think in ideas and stuff. But yeah, like, do they think like, yes, like imagining conversations with people? They probably think it maybe in terms of them motioning the sign language in their hands and the words instead of actually hearing the sounds. Okay, okay, do you like the current president? Did you know he thought he was underqualified for the position? I saw a video of him admitting this, to be honest. Really? I'd like to see that video. I think he's a good president. He seems like a smart guy. I think he's a good guy. I like the whole idea of trying to get the universal health care. I like that, although I don't know that much about it, and I heard they were going to start taxing people, and I don't think that's good. If that ends up being the case, then I think the whole universal health care system is bad, and I'm going to go against Obama for it, because I think if somebody wants to be like a homeless person with no job, they shouldn't have to be able to pay. I mean, how in the hell are they going to get some homeless dude with no job to pay $300 every couple of months? How the fuck is that going to happen? Or else what? They go to jail? It's like, it's stupid, man. They need to have universal health care that goes to everybody, whether you have a job or not. That's what we need. And people are like, oh, but, I mean, I heard some like neocons, they're like, oh, but you know, if you don't work, you don't deserve to have health care. It's like, fuck that. Health care, it's your body. You can't escape having a body. You can escape from smoking or from driving a car, but you can't get away from having a body. If you get sick, you need to get fixed. You know, and they're like, oh, we don't have the money. Well, then stop fucking spending $40 billion a year on the war on fucking drugs, you retard. And throwing 500,000... Back in 92, 500,000 people were in jail for like, you know, in prison for like 10 years or longer for marijuana. You know? How about the 20% of our taxes we spend on the military? Stop spending money on that crap. Put it towards universal health care. Duh. Okay. Yeah, but I don't really follow politics. I don't know shit about that. I'm gonna do that later. That's a whole nother thing. I'm only doing the history now. Yeah. But I mean, I think he's a smart guy. He's a good delegator, and that's kind of, I guess, and he listens to other people and does that, so I think he's good enough. If he knows about the law and stuff, yeah, sure. I think he's good enough. I mean, he's older than a lot of the other presidents who came into power. You know, Jefferson was 28 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. You know, Obama's like 45. He's like an old man back in the good old days. Colin Powell explained to Sarah Palin he thought she did not have enough experience for the position of president yet. Do you think she will be ready in 10 to 15 years? And will countries like China take us seriously if it's a female leader? I think countries like China will take us seriously if we have a female leader. Lots of other countries, and not, you know, lots of Asian countries. Sri Lanka has a female president. Didn't India have a female president? The Philippines has a female president. I bet you China could have a female president. China has had a female emperor before. She was Buddhist. Yeah, I don't think they're all that sexist. Chile has a female president. The European Union has a female president. It's kind of like America's behind. We're the ones who are sexist. So it's not about female or not. Yeah, and she said, well, I thought she didn't have enough experience. So she had 2 years as governor of Alaska, and then before that, like what, a year or two as mayor of some tiny ass little town. And Alaska's like a tiny ass little state, doesn't deal with a whole lot of people and things. Yeah, I would say she's underqualified to be president. Will she be in 10 to 15 years? No, she will never be qualified to be president. She's not smart enough. She's like genetically like retarded. She was raised wrong. She's a fucking neocon. There's no way. No, she did the whole president thing for the whole, in politics and all that, for the whole power trip, man. I can see right through that lady. I didn't think she was so smart, but then I got pissed and I decided I didn't like her at all when I saw that a couple months ago they had this like Yahoo News. I saw this thing where like her ex-manager wrote a book about her because he wanted to quit and he didn't like her anymore, and he said that she fired the chief of police because he had a nasty divorce with her sister. And like, so that's like your classical like crazy bitch vindictive thing, and I mean that's nuts. I mean, imagine if she was president, you know? It's like, what you gonna do? Like start firing like the Secretary of State because he like made fun of her daughter or something? I mean, God, it would be a disaster. And then yeah, that like everything about her, like Katie Couric asking her the question about which magazines does she read, how she goes to China, and they're like, yeah, why do you want to import American car to China? Why? All the reasons why. What do you mean why? Oh, so that you can make money selling American car in China? Yeah, that. Yeah, of course, that. You know, it's like, what the, I can imagine how fucking retarded the conversations would be. Nah, I bet you in 10 or 15 years she'll probably have like a political talk show, like in Alaska. And, you know, and her reason for not ever running for office again would be like so that her children, they were making fun of her children or something. But I think she's set for life. But she's going to be like sidelines political talk show. Just one of these people who divisive, kind of like Laura Ingram's type. Maybe a radio show or something. Do you think China is scheming to be the next superpower? Do you think China should be taxed via the U.S. 25%? I heard on Coast to Coast that when the tower struck and he was in a room full of a bunch of Chinese people and they were all cheering. I think that's bullshit though. I heard of somebody else said that they were in a room full of a bunch of Chinese and when that happened they were all like really sorry. I think China is scheming to be the next superpower because it seems like they should be the next superpower. I mean 1.2 billion people, that's like 4 times the population of America. So naturally it would be. And they do have a culture of hard work. You know, obviously for making the Great Wall of China and making all those canals and all those. And they're really smart. Back in 2,000 years ago, they had inventions and a level of technology, of society that was way more advanced than Europe. They had, I mean, compasses before anybody else. They had all kinds of crazy cool stuff before anybody else. And you know, with all of the way that they're having our debt and all that, they're probably scheming towards it. Will they be the next superpower? Probably, but I don't think they're going to be. By the time they do, they're gonna pass the United States in 15 years in GDP, but by the time that happens, that's going to be in about 2027. By the time that happens, they're going to. There's not the whole idea of that one superpower is kind of going to be fading away. It's just going to be, we're not going to, you know, all of the dictatorships are going to be gone. North Korea is going to be a normal country by then. You know, I mean, just like a year or two ago, nobody really foresaw that Libya would get overthrown in Egypt. I mean, it's all toppling like dominoes in the Middle East. And once the Middle East goes, North Korea is going to go. Not so long after that. No more than 5 years from after the no more than 10 years from now. And after that, we're going to dramatically reduce defense spending. We're going to legalize all the drugs, and and free energy is going to be out there, and the whole idea of like competition, who's a superpower and who's not, it's not really going to. People aren't really going to care so much about that shit. As far as how we're going to pay off the debt, I guess we're going to pay off the debt and stuff, but I think we'll relax. Immigration laws and stuff, and you know, Americans will still be able to travel to China and stuff, but the Chinese will be able to travel to America, which will be good for America, for tourism. We'll make a lot of tourist money off of those Chinese, and I don't think it's really going to be that much of an issue, man. Do you think the U.S. China should be taxed by the U.S. 25%? Well, I think we need to do something about the debt with China. It is our choice to buy all those Chinese goods. You know, and if it's our choice to do that, then whatever is better for us is better for us. You know, they have their way to do stuff, and we have our way. They sacrifice their way of their quality of life. All those factory workers in China live in these huge block houses, and they work like 12 hours a day. And you know, if that means that they get to pump out those stuff super cheap, so that we buy it cheap and live our nice lives, and then they get to loan more and more money to us, and then, you know, by the time, I guess, they're as rich as us, they're like, we're not going to sell you any more stuff. I guess we can have they can get richer, and then we can get poor, and then so they can have the tourists come here. It'll all work out in the end, man. The planet Earth is going to be one country pretty soon. Within a couple hundred years, the whole world's going to be one country. We're all going to be propping each other up. Okay, who is the best president at leading the country? I would have to say the best president was Teddy Roosevelt, because he was in the trust buster. He was in the tail end of the Industrial Revolution, where people were like crazy wealthy. I think it was Carnegie had between, if you inflation adjusted, $400 to $600 billion. You know, like when Bill Gates was the richest he ever. Oh shit! Oh man, this is gonna be over 2 gigs. I hope it's not. I gotta stop here. Fuck, I went over my 50 minutes, now it's 2.1 gigs. It's gonna take like 24 hours to fucking splice that up. What a disaster. Fuck. Oh well, whatever. Alright, back to Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt was the best, because back when he was president, those dudes, those rich dudes were like way rich. Carnegie, 400 to 600 billion adjusted. Bill Gates, when he was the richest, only had 75 billion. And then not just Carnegie, but then you had like Rockefeller had like 500 billion or something like that. And then J.P. Morgan had control over like half of the nation's wealth. So these were like, I mean, these were the days where you know, sometimes people these days are like, oh yeah, the government or the world's controlled by corporations. Well, how about back then? The world was like way controlled by corporations, and could have gotten out of control back then. But Teddy Roosevelt was a tough guy, and he was in there, and he broke up Standard Oil, and made all the different oil companies that are now. And back in those days, it was all one company, and so now they're all competing with each other, and they don't have as much power. And he made all the different laws to against monopolies, and he was kind of like a no nonsense type of guy. If they had maybe had somebody else in there who was more of a wishy-washy or like weaker personality, or greedier person wouldn't have made those laws, and they could have carried in, and it could have gotten out of control and become a lot worse and set a precedent for the rest of the world, and it could have turned America into some kind of like totalitarian state. And yeah, he was a badass. Like he caught these dudes catching horses once, stealing his horses. So he held them at gunpoint and like marched them like for 30 hours back to the cops, like a long ways away, and he had to stay up all night and stuff. And yeah, and then he fought the Cubans, he was the Rough Riders fighting him, and he went up the Amazon River and down Africa. He did everything. He had didn't he have like 3 terms or something? And then he stepped down because he thought he had had enough, and he actually voluntarily stepped down. Was really popular. Then he tried to run again, but by then he wasn't popular anymore, so he kind of regretted it. But yeah, I'd say Teddy Roosevelt. Okay. Have you ever been in a car wreck? Yeah. When I was like 16, we were driving down the road. My dad was driving, and my brother and his friend were in the back, and this stupid guy blew a stop sign and sideswiped us, broadsided us. Oh no, the battery's gonna die. And we rolled like 2 times. Yeah, only got like $7,000 for the car, and that's when we bought this car afterwards. This was back in like 91 or something. Okay. Oh no, I think the battery's about to die, so I'm gonna have to do the other ones later. Ciao.